Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're checking out a brand new switcher from the folks at Cinetreak. This is the Touch-S. Now, I'll be using this throughout the entirety of this video. I'm recording internally thanks to the SD card slot. I'm also recording the multi-view externally here. And I'm recording in Open Broadcaster software so you can get a good sense of how everything will look if you're using it in this exact type of scenario. So whether you're live streaming and recording at the same time, it will do both simultaneously, which is really cool. Let me just give you a quick heads up on my setup. So I'm running 3 cameras into this. My primary camera, my secondary camera, which is looking at the back, the third one, which is my overhead, and number 4 is, of course, the Super Nintendo Mini. One of my favorite things to add into these. Now, if something doesn't match what you're seeing with the switcher and how I'm configuring it, I'm using the overhead recording to showcase different features or the multi-view. So just keep that in mind while I am using it in this video. Just be aware that if something doesn't match, it's usually the overhead camera that I'm cutting to in post-production. This video is aimed to give you a rundown of what this is capable of from a general purpose standpoint. I'm not going to go too deep into all of the features with this video, otherwise it'll be 4 hours long, but I'll cover everything that I think is important to someone who's looking at this particular unit. Now, before we get into this, massive thanks to Jackson from Cinetreak for sending this out. If you want to take a look at it, I'll link it down in the description box. Let's get into it. All right, let me give you a quick rundown of what you need to know about this unit. So we do get that beautiful touchscreen display. It's 10 inches. It's nice and easy to see. The angle of the unit is up, as you can see from this perspective, which means you don't have to have your neck down like this looking at it. I'm looking at it like this. It's nice and easy to see, even at a slight arm's distance like this. So no problems there at all in terms of visibility. One of the things that will no doubt appeal to a lot of folks is we get 4 SDI inputs and 4 HDMI inputs, and I'm using all HDMI. Now, if you plan on using 2 HDMI inputs along with 2 SDI inputs, for example, and you want a mix of them both, or whatever the number and count is, it's not a problem. It will work with that as well. We get 2 HDMI outputs and a single SDI output, which allows you to send the signal out into another HDMI device. And in this case, I'm using my reference monitor. But if you don't have a reference monitor, this becomes your reference monitor. You can look at it in this kind of view, which I think is fantastic. So yeah, you don't need an external monitor for this, but if you have one, you can definitely make it work just by plugging it out of here on this side, out into a dedicated display. I'm recording out of the multi-view output into my Pearl Nano, so that's this screen that you're looking at right now. And it also has 2 separate USB ports. So this will, I think, work with a webcam, but you can also use it to charge something else as well, or power another device. And it's powering the Super Nintendo Mini that I've got plugged into this particular input number 4. The UVC port on the back is designed to plug into any computer, and then you can record with Open Broadcaster software. And this is how Open Broadcaster software looks recording it straight into my MacBook Air over here. So you can get a good sense of how this looks recording at 1080p. In addition to the 4 SDI and 4 HDMI inputs, we also get some media channels that we can incorporate. So this can either read off a card or some internal storage here, which allows you to bring in media. Now, if I hit number 5 here, you can see that the CineLive CS2 video is playing, and now this was actually built into the unit, and there it is. So yeah, you're looking at that on screen, and it's just another thing that you can use at your disposal to showcase a video with your audience. When it comes to live streaming, this is really powerful. It will give you a 1080p up to 60 frames per second output to multiple destinations, either directly thanks to the stream button on the front here. You can hit this and just go live, or of course you can just plug it into Open Broadcaster software and use that as your encoder. But this will do it all for you without the need of a computer doing all the hard work. If we take a look on my computer here, you can see that I'm connected to the Cinetreak switcher thanks to the IP address, and then I can input some different server addresses here that will then be the keys and destination for my streaming. So if you're going to, say, YouTube or Twitch or Rumble or whatever the case may be, you can pop those addresses in here, and then when you hit the button that's on screen here, then you can go live. That's it. It's pretty wild. Another really cool thing that this can do over a network is once you've got it plugged in via Ethernet, then you can connect via a smartphone, via Wi-Fi to control it remotely, or to set up different features, much like I showed you with the web browser interface. So that's fantastic. It means you can have one less big thing with you if you don't plan on bringing a computer. The Touch-S also has pull stream connectivity, so it allows this unit to downstream into it and then share that with your audience. Again, taking a look at the software on screen here, you can see that we get 6 different banks. If we go over to the pull stream section here on this icon, it will then give you all of the different things that you can integrate into your stream here. These are the 6 banks that are there available on the web interface. On this side of the unit, we've got 2 3.5mm headphone sockets, and over here, a dedicated headphone output. On the far side of the unit, we've got our SD card slot, and that's what I'm recording with right now. There's an Ethernet port for direct connectivity to the web and local network, and also our power cable. Now, we do get a power switch on this, which I really like. For some reason, a lot of switches don't have an on-off button, so I'm actually really happy to see one on the back of this. Now, this does have internal cooling as well. You can set the fan at different thresholds. We'll take a look at that in a moment, but yeah, I really love its design. All the buttons are laid out in a really intuitive way. If you take a look over here, you can control up to 4 PTZ or PTZ cameras all at once using this as well. I don't own any PTZ cameras, but I have reached out to someone to potentially have one sent out so I can test these things in future videos. If that happens, I'll test it with this switcher. So subscribe if you're interested in that. This side of the unit takes care of some of the other features. So we talked about the media options before. Over here, we've got our pattern buttons. You can see that this is one of the patterns here. So if I bring this into the shot, you can see that I've got that on screen. So you can bring in images or grab a still shot and share it with the audience, all that kind of thing. Over here, we get the option to fade to black, which is one of those things you might want to do from time to time. To bring it out, just hit it again and you'll be back to where you started. The feel of the joystick over here is great. I have no complaints with it. It actually feels really nice. It's slightly rubberized, it's nice and easy to use. And same with the transition bar. It really does feel great. There's no problems with it in terms of fluidity or getting stuck or being sticky or anything like that. It just works really well. Now, thanks to the way that this is configured, you can stream in a number of different ways. You can either stream directly from the unit, as I've already explained, from Open Broadcaster software. This will be detected as a webcam with any other program that supports webcam functionality, which I really love. Another cool benefit to this unit is it allows you to stream vertically or in your standard 16:9 mode. So what you're looking at right now is 16:9, so it's wider than it is taller, but imagine it flipped up vertically. You can configure this to stream vertically to a phone on any platform that supports it, which is awesome. Let's take a look at some of the transitions built into this and the way that it works here. See the red buttons? That's my quick switching. And if I set up, say, scene 3 like this, you can see it in the preview. Now, as I use the transition bar here or hit cut, it will then go to the next scene. So this is a standard fade. This is the normal mix one that you'll see by default. There's dip, which goes to black, which looks pretty cool. Probably wouldn't use it on a live stream. And there's all these different wipes. So I'll just quickly go through a few here to show you exactly what they can do. You can do them at your own speed. So if you want to go nice and slow, you can. And yeah, so you get the point. And again, if I just want to go back to, say, this one, I can hit cut and it will cut to that scene and cut back nice and fast. So that's awesome. Another really powerful tool built into this is all of the different audio options. You can see on screen here that we've got channel volumes for everything. Now, our program is this one over here. If we have this down all the way, there's no audio going out to your audience. And what you can see right now is input number 1 is set to on. Now, there's a few different options, including on, off, and audio follows video, which means if I'm switching on the switcher, the audio will then go to that camera. And being that I'm using this particular microphone into my primary camera, I want it locked to this anytime I change scene. So if I go to scene 3, scene 4, or 2 that is, sorry, or scene 1, then it's just going to stick on this microphone. Now you might be saying, hey, can you mix channels? You absolutely can, and I'll show you that now. So in number 4, you can see that I've got the Super Nintendo Mini. As per always, it's running 720p at 60 frames per second. If I want to bring this up, all I need to do here is bring up the volume of this. So I've got it to on, then I can bring this up. Now, I'm just using my finger on the screen here, as you can probably see from the overhead recording. And I'm going to set this at -30. Now, I can't hear this mix because I'm not using headphones in the room, but you should now be able to hear the game footage and also my voice at the same time. I'll just bring it up a hair just in case you can't hear it, because that's quite low. All right, let's try that. Now you might be saying, what's the point of that? It means if you're doing a podcast, you might have 2 people with microphones like this going into their own unique camera. Then you can mix audio between 2 people like that, or set up a gaming live stream, which is what I'm about to show you now. So we also get picture-in-picture on this also. Picture-in-picture can be set up by hitting this button over here, and then I'm going to set it up on the program. So you can see me now on screen on the program output, but with the wrong shot here. So what I'm going to do is hit number 4, because this is where the Super Nintendo is. And now I've got a gaming stream set up just like that. Now I pre-configured this ahead of time, but if you want to move the picture-in-picture, it's actually pretty easy, and you can use the joystick here. So if we go to move layer, which is over here, we can then use the joystick to move the layer wherever we like, right? And this really takes the complication out of it. You can also crop the shot as well. I'm just looking at my reference screen over here to get the right spot. But yeah, it's a really handy way of just getting a great picture-in-picture for a gaming setup. So if you've got all of this configured for gaming and you've got some sound coming out of your screen or some headphones with that coming back at you that way in real time, then you can use this for gaming or podcasting without any problems. Now we get 2 separate picture-in-picture modes we can use here. We can set up a second one if we want, but just with this first one, you can crop it. So if you want to crop it, you can see how it's changing where it is. So I can move this within the frame here as well. So if I crop in, use the joystick, I can then like crop it in on my head like this, which is crazy. And the cool thing about input number 1 is that it's a 4K input. It is outputting 1080p, but it allows you to capture a high resolution signal. So this will look much better than it would otherwise. So I really like that. If you don't like the crop, you can just slide it off and you're done. Awesome. Now there's a couple of quick sizing options here as well. You can go in here and choose any of these custom settings and, you know, experiment around, but the quarter one seems to look the best to my eye. It's nice and easy to set up a border as well. If you want to change the color, you can go into the hex number and change that as well, but we'll leave that because it's pretty self-explanatory. What you're listening to right now is this little microphone right here, and this is plugged into microphone input number 1 on this side over here. Now, to get this to be in sync with what you're looking at right now, what I've had to do is on the microphone number 1 input is set the millisecond delay to 0.48 seconds. Now, this will vary from camera system to camera system. Sometimes cameras have better or worse latency than others and all that kind of stuff. But I just had a quick play around with this off camera now to make sure that this kind of works. So this is just a cheap shotgun microphone, but if you're using something like this, for example, and you don't have a big mic like my one, you can still get it to work. Or if you're using a wireless pack that's not directly connected to a camera for some reason, which is the easiest way to do all of this, you can absolutely use an external mic. The Touch-S also gives us full Chroma key support. So in the center of this pad over here, if we tap on the one that looks like a little person, you can see that it's set to Chroma, which is what we want. I picked my color from this option over here, and then when we go back, I can remove the screen nice and simply. So if I want the video game footage behind me, it doesn't work. Let's do that. So there you go. As you can see now, there's the game footage behind me. Now, it's not perfect. I don't have it lit 100%. There's green in my shirt getting removed because it's the same color as the screen back here, basically. But what you can do is experiment around with the smooth and similarity and just move them a fraction. If you move them too far, everything disappears. And this is one of the things I struggle with this unit, is some of the touch controls just aren't quite easy enough to move. Now, as I move this to the right-hand side, you can see that it looks much, much better now than it did before. So this is great. If you're a gamer or someone who wants to use the green screen effect, you can absolutely get away with it. One of the questions I always see when it comes to the Chroma key experience with a lot of these switches is, how did I get it to work? I'm going to show you quickly just to save that question in the comment section. So if we go over to the switcher here, you need to have the on program toggle on. Without it, it's not going to work. So you can fiddle around with this all day, but you have to hit this on program for it to work. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Now, if you've got a whole bunch of PTZ cameras or PTZ cameras, as I would natively say, then you can control up to 4. And this is a little bit of an insight into how it looks. So as you can see on screen here, by tapping the little camera icon bottom left-hand side next to the lock, you've got all 4 cameras that you can select on screen here. You've got their IP addresses, you can change the speed, you can change the focus to manual, change the focus, the exposure, the white balance, and everything else that would accompany a PTZ camera. So nice and simple there, and again, it's from this icon on the lower left-hand side. Let's take a look at all the input and output settings here. So as you can see here, we've got a little HDMI icon. I really like it. It's nice and intuitive. You can absolutely change the layout and the stream view to vertical if you want. Now, being that I'm recording in 16:9, I'm not going to switch that, but it also allows you to change the output rate. Now, I'm recording at 25 frames per second, which is my normal frame rate here in Australia, but if I'm live streaming, I'm setting everything to 30 or 60 frames per second, including my cameras. But if you're recording, for example, you can use 24, 25, 30, 48, 50, and 60p, which is awesome. So just pick the best one for the job. If you're new to streaming and you might be going out to YouTube or Twitch, again, set it to either 30 or 60 frames per second, along with all of your other devices. Now, this can kind of compensate. So if something's got a higher frame rate coming in, like the Super Nintendo Mini, for example, it's set to 720p at 60 frames per second. The output will still be 25 frames per second on this particular recording, because that's what the output is set to. So yeah, lots of different options here. You can also see that we can change the output source over here. I've got it set to multi-view and program, which is how I'm capturing everything, as I explained earlier. And we can also change what the SDI does as well. So if we want the SDI to be something else, we can tap on it and you'll get all of these options here to change it that way. If you want a dedicated sort of like input number 1, which is my primary shot, you can have that going out. It's up to you. So lots of different options there. Let's say, for example, you're doing an unboxing and you might have a camera that's kind of oriented in the only way that you can set it up, and it may be upside down. You can also change that as well. If we go over to this option over here, I've got this input that you're looking at set to number 3. So if I hit this and I change it horizontally, I can move it around like that. How cool is that? You can see now that the the text is back the front, but there might be times where that comes in handy. Or you can do horizontal and vertically if you want to switch it all the way around like this, or back to off, which is as it was. Let me walk you through some of the other settings that this has. So under the settings cogwheel, you can see that the language is set to English. There's only English and Chinese. I'm pretty sure that's what that one is right there. Could be another language, but anyway, I'm assuming it's Chinese. There's also a fan, which can be set to on, off, or auto. Now, the great news with this is the fan is very quiet. Whether you're using a shotgun microphone or whatever, it shouldn't pick up the noise. The fan on the Pearl Nano is way louder than this, to the point where I've just set the fan to on and I can barely hear it. So yeah, I'm in close proximity to it. No problems there at all. We can also change the brightness of the screen by moving this slider. You can change the time, which kind of brings me to one of my biggest complaints about this unit, and I've given my feedback back to Cinetreak regarding this. So for example, if I want to change the year on here, I have to hit plus, and then I have to go back into the year and hit plus again and do it over and over and over. Same with the date, same with the time. It's like a +1, go back in, +1, go back in, or -1, or whatever you want to go to. And it's a bit laborious, so I hope that the time feature can automatically just update as soon as it's connected to a switcher. I had to set this up manually. For whatever reason, the time of the switcher is fine. As you can see, it's got the time here, which is the current time. I know you don't know that, but it is. So it's the 14th of the 10th here in Melbourne, Australia. But when I go back in here, you'll see that the date doesn't reflect any of that. So it just doesn't really set your mind at ease here. Over here, we've got our network options. You can see this is my local network. If you want this unit to just generate its own IP address, click network DHCP and put it on. And this way it will automatically propagate the network address for you. Now, if you prefer to set your own, you need to know how to do that. And I'm not here to show you how to do that. Odds are if you know how to do that, you'll know how to do it. But if you're just getting started with this, just set that network DHCP to on, and it will configure everything for you automatically, and the IP address will be on screen. The Touch-S also gives you the ability here to save different user profiles. So say, for example, I'm going to use this for a podcast with 2 people, and I've got all the audio set up the way that I want it, all that kind of thing. I can save that as its own preset. And then if I'm streaming on my own, or I'm just recording here in the studio, I can set it up in that way as well and save a separate profile. So if I want to save it, all I have to do is hit save. It's going to save, and it will say user configuration updated. I don't know if you can see that or not, but hopefully it's recording up there. And then if we go over to the user option here, you can save basically 6 different users or scenes. Awesome stuff. It's just a really handy feature. Now, for someone who's going to be using this with the joystick on the left-hand side over here for a PTZ camera, you can calibrate it by using this little icon on screen. It looks like a little joystick above where NDI is. And you can calibrate the joystick that way. We go down to info here. This is the firmware version. It's version 2025-925. So it's basically the most up-to-date firmware as of producing this video. I actually updated it. It was nice and simple to update the firmware, download it from the Cinetreak website, put it on the SD card, pop it in, turn it off, turn it on. It will update the firmware for you. It will actually prompt you to do it. Just hit yes, and that's it. It's one of the most seamless firmware update processes I've seen. It's really cool. For those who want to do a factory reset, you can go into this reset option and you'll be in business. Let's take a look at the home screen on here as well, because this is really powerful. I like the fact you can lock the touch screen just by hitting the lock on the left-hand side over here. So now nothing's going to change when I tap on the screen or, you know, double tap on the sources or anything like that. It's not going to change, which is awesome. So that's really cool. To unlock it, just tap it again and we're in business. We've got our time over here. All the different patterns built into it are over here. So you can use these as backdrops if you want, which is cool. And you can also go into the logo option, which allows you to put logos on screen. So I can pick one of these to be on the program. And then if I want to move it, I can use the joystick and move it around to wherever I like. You can also load in your own and all that kind of stuff as well. But just for the sake of the demo here, I just wanted to show you a couple of the different ones. We've got that one. You got to hit apply and they'll all be on screen just by doing that. So if you want to turn it off, hit the program again and it's gone. Nice and simple. Now from this option, you can see all the recording options and how long you've got left on your SD card from this little icon here. When you're recording, as you can see I'm recording, this light on screen is red. When you're not recording, it's gray. So it's a great visual indicator to let you know what's going on. But I love the fact that the light over here is lit when you're recording. It's an awesome thing. So that's cool. Now if we go into here, we can change everything from our bit rate. If we push it all the way to the right at 30, we're getting the best recording quality. It's probably 30 megabytes per second or thereabouts. Cameras usually record with pretty efficient codecs upwards of about 100, but 30 on this is fine. You can go back through later and edit your recording and all that kind of stuff. Speaking of which too, this isn't an ISO recording or an ISO recording. It's literally the program only. I haven't found any other option for this to do individual stems and all that kind of thing. So just keep that in mind. That may or may not be a deal breaker for you. For me, it's not, but if you do need that, just keep that in mind. We can change the frame rate as well for the recording from 24 to 25, 30, 50, and 60 frames per second. There's also a couple of different recording formats, including MP4, TS, and FLV. Now, if you want to wipe the SD card, which I don't want to do, you can go into SD formatting and you can wipe the disk. Now, the cool thing, even with a 128 gigabyte card here, we go back here, you can see that I've only used 10.8 gigabytes of 118. So yeah, this will record for hours at that data rate. So it's not a problem whatsoever. If we take a look at the cloud option over here, now this allows you to get into some of the things that you'll be pushing out to your audience or pulling to your switcher. The pull stream is this, and this reflects what I showed you in the software earlier. We've got the push stream option here as well. So you've got your RTMP address on that side. Now, I should probably test this with a webcam, so let's get one. I just grabbed my YoloCam S3 that I recently reviewed, and if you missed that video, I'll link it down in the description or up in the card somewhere, and you can check it out after this video. But you can see on screen here that I can see it, and I've set this up so it works like this. So if I switch it over to number 5, this is going to go to the program out. So this is a webcam. I don't know if the audio is going to be in sync or not yet. You may have to sort of calibrate a few things if you plan on using it. But yeah, the webcam is now integrated into a 4 multi-camera setup, which is great. So I've essentially got a 5th channel that I can use with a high quality webcam like this. That gives me a little bit of background blur. I highly recommend checking out this unit. It's fantastic. I'll link that video down below. But yeah, this is the quality of a professional camera, and this is the quality of the YoloCam, which I still think looks great for a webcam, but let us know what you think. All right, let's wrap this up. I'm going to talk about the pros, cons, and the things that I like and dislike here about the Cinetreak Touch-S, starting with what I really like about it. So this screen is phenomenal. I love the fact that it's angled, so you don't need to put it on anything to see the screen. You're not going to get the gooseneck from looking down like this all the time, so that's fantastic. The audio options are great. The preamps sound really clean, so no problems there with the microphone inputs. I love the fact you can use it with a webcam, just another really cool addition to this as well. You can use it with Open Broadcaster software, stream directly out of this and record directly into the SD card. I did notice using the USB-C to my computer that the recording does look quite a bit different to my cameras. Yeah, it looks like it's doing something to the colors via that. I would love to see some color tweaking available in here in the future, just to be able to adjust the contrast and saturation. I think that would be a huge bonus, but the color overall looks pretty solid, and I would have no problems using this for live streams or recording myself. Maybe my biggest complaint with this unit just comes from some of the touch functionality here. While I'm a big fan of it, I would love to see this integrated with the joystick. So if I'm wanting to adjust the input 1 volume from -1 to -2, to do it with my finger, I'm going to slide around, it's going to go down to -6, it's hard. It's hard to get really precise numbers by using your finger, especially in 1% increments, for example. The joystick would just make that so much easier. So if there's any way that that can be incorporated into controlling some of these, that would be awesome, because as it stands right now, it doesn't work with it, and you're just forced to use the finger on screen. So yeah, you'll be fiddling around with it a bit to get the audio correct the first time, but once you've got it set up, then you can save it and you won't have to mess with it again. Now let's talk about who this is for. I really think it's best suited for someone doing live streams like this, where you might be on your own doing multi-camera stuff. Or if you're going to be doing a podcast and you've got a producer, someone behind the camera with headphones connected directly to it, listening to everything, you can really make it work thanks to the mix controls. If you've got a Rodecaster Pro or any other audio device, the microphone inputs sound good enough that I would have no problems using them for myself. Or if you've just got a little dinky microphone like this guy, it's like a $10 shotgun microphone, then this worked great in there as well. So you got that option. Just know you will have to offset the sync of the analog mics to work in combination with the HDMI sources, because HDMI inherently has that lag. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with what I was able to get out of this, to the point where I think it's arguably one of the best streaming and recording solutions all in one with a built-in screen. Usually if I'm doing a multi-camera setup with my band, or we're doing a product thing for something else, whatever the case may be, or I'm doing a tutorial, for example, where I use switches a lot, sometimes you find that you've got to have way more stuff set up just to get going. You got to get a screen, more HDMI stuff, all that. This pretty much takes care of all of that for you, which I really like. So as an all-in-one device, it really does simplify things. Now, it is bigger than something like an ATEM Mini, but the screen makes it worth it, because I've traveled with an ATEM Mini and I took one of those little on-camera monitors with me, and it was a pain in the neck, literally. While it is bigger and slightly heavier, obviously, it's a much better unit for doing on-location stuff, because you can just throw this into a backpack, bring the power supply, your cables and everything else that you need, obviously, and you're done. You don't have to worry about, oh man, I forgot my screen, because then you're screwed, right? This really simplifies a lot of that. So yeah, as an all-in-one device, it's great. Just remember, no ISO or ISO recording. So you've just got your program output recorded. You can make your mind up whether or not that's a deal breaker for you. For me, it isn't. And no 4K recording. One day we'll get there, but the day isn't today. But yeah, I think for the price, it's pretty solid value. Anyway, I'll follow this up on a live stream coming up on the channel. I plan on using this stuff more moving forward. You can probably tell I'm releasing more videos at the moment. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some live streams, some hangouts, all that kind of stuff. And if I can, I'll be using this coming up in the future. But let us know what you think. If you have any questions, let us know. I hope this has been helpful. You can check it out using the links below. Catch you soon.